Hey everyone, today I have a very special episode because Terry actually came here to visit me in Hong Kong. I first met him because he joined my program, Building Public Mastery, and I've enjoyed seeing him, building his business and community at the same time. And then now we have become friends. So this video is really just a casual chat between two friends, not your typical interview style. But we talk about a lot of things. For one, I was wondering for someone like him working at Google, what made him want to start his own thing? Because I heard life at Google is pretty good. We also talk about how he's differentiating himself in his niche, and he mentioned something called the pockets of hidden time. And I was like, this is such a good term. And finally, there are so many ways you can grow a business and a community. And I wonder why he chose building in public to be his go-to strategy. All right, I've said a lot, so why don't we get into it right now?
Your life.
Woo. Yeah. Woo. Yeah. Hey Terry.
Hi.
Welcome to my mini office here in Hong Kong.
Thank you. Very glad to be here.
What brings you here to Hong Kong?
It's always nice to be. It's interesting to be a creator in this part of the world. There's not many of us here in Asia. And I was here. I was tagging along some friends from work. They were here for a work trip. I just tagged along for fun. Also, Hong Kong has lots of amazing things to eat. I think I put on like 5 kgs already. I was so mad. And yeah, since I'm in town, I have to meet you, right? Because I've learned so much from you over the past couple of months. I almost gave up at some point, but then reading your material online, it really gave me a different perspective on how I can play this game, learning how to be a creator. So I'm in town, you're based here, I really need to meet you to make this feel so real. So here we are.
Yeah, and now we're trying this I don't know, YouTube style kind of chit chat. Obviously, I don't do this often. And you don't do this
no,
often.
Definitely not. Yeah.
So, but anyway, it's a kind of new experiment, new thing that we're trying to do. But most importantly, is sharing our thoughts with the people who are watching this.
Yes.
Yeah. So why don't we talk about you to start off with?
Okay.
I know you work at Google.
Yeah.
How long have you been at Google? And then at what point did you think about, oh, I want to try to do something on the side as well?
Yeah. I work at Google. I've been there for about 5 to 6 years now. Yeah. In fact, I think I just crossed one of my 5th or 6th year anniversary a couple of weeks back. So yeah, and being in Google is a very interesting place that you meet a lot of people from many different backgrounds, all culminating in one place and doing awesome stuff together. And one thing that I got to learn about as part of the culture, so having casual coffee chats is a thing. You meet someone new, yeah, exactly. You meet someone new for the first time, and it can be anyone. You can have a coffee chat from anyone, from account manager all the way up to a director or VP, if at the time, 30 minutes coffee chat is a thing. And when I got to meet all these amazing people, I found one thing in common, which is a lot of them have something else going on the side, right? It can be a personal hobby thing, or it can be an actual side hustle thing. And I'm before I came into Google, you would think gosh, people in Google work really hard, right? And we do, right? Just say we do work very hard as well. Yeah. But we also make time for something else that would make our lives a little bit more interesting, right? And so that got me thinking, at the end of the day, when 20 years down the road, I don't want to be known as just Terry, he works at Google, and that's it. No, I feel like life is a little bit more multi-dimensional for that. I want to be known more Terry, he's someone that does XYZ. Oh, and by the way, he works at Google too. Yeah. So that got me to start thinking about what would be something interesting to do outside my life. So after 1.5 years in Google, after I've settled down into the role, and I've got a bit more free time, headspace, very importantly, I started to just explore, what are interesting things that I can do and make money while I'm doing it. So I dabbled a lot into different side hustles. I tried drop shipping. I did logo design, freelancing. I did a bit of consulting for like startups, run by friends and everything. So touch a lot of different things. And now I'm doing in this whole coaching thing. So which really resonated with what I like to do, my personality. So I got myself certified, went through the training, and now I'm trying to build a whole practice out of this. And this is where we are right now.
I feel like we started because of very similar reasons. Like I started this journey to write and share online 3 years ago. And the whole reason was because I was feeling like a nobody, even though I worked so hard in my career. Like I'm never part of big companies like Google, but I've helped founders and investors build their dreams. And I'm like, wow, I worked so hard, but there's nothing to show people. So I think the desire to create your own thing is based on our fulfillment and recognition, or maybe self-worth. So that's really interesting. I was gonna ask you, if we put this on YouTube, and then people at Google see it, what would they think? But then I suddenly remember there's another Googler at the Hong Kong office. His name is Jeff Su. And I mean, he has created a bunch of content, I mean, related to Google products. And it seems like, I don't know, from the impression, he's very supported by the company. So then it shouldn't be a problem.
No, I think it's fine as long as, like, you know, I'm not selling ad products or whatever, so there's no conflict. But I think that's also one of the good things about working in a place like Google, right? They really encourage people to be more than just the work, right? Like, work is important, but it's not the most important thing, right? I have a director that once told me, like, you know, things are great, things are important, but at the end of the day, in her very thick, like, Australian accent, like, you know, we're not saving babies. I will remember her words till the very last day. Like, you know, like, work is important, but it is not your whole life. So that helps me to give a little bit balance. But for you, right, like, you know, you've said that you've helped founders achieve their dreams their whole life. At what point did you feel that when are you going to build yours? That it's time to build your own?
Wow, actually, right after university.
That was cool.
Actually, I thought I have to build something, but the thing is, it was never successful. Like, I had a ton of ideas, I had a ton of different kinds of execution, but nothing really was successful. But I think because of all those, like, dead ends and failures, this time around, I went in with a lot of more strategic minds. Like, I didn't just get online and be like, oh, I'm just gonna talk about different things. I feel like I have a much better plan to take each small step. And I think that helps me share the actionable steps with other people like you as well, because I feel like not enough people know it's always about the small steps. We always think like, oh, I want to build something big, and then we jump the gun. We go to step 10. So actually, it was really early on.
So you really had that, like, I need to do something for myself with my efforts very, very early on.
You know why? Because I went to an entrepreneurship school in the United States.
There's a school for entrepreneurs.
So
this is new.
My school was called Babson College.
It
was a small university, maybe like 1,600 people across 4 years. And it's an entrepreneurship school. Like, not to be braggy, but the research is ranked #1 in the world for entrepreneurship. So I was
totally not braggy at all.
So I was this, like, student going to the library every single day. But then when you look around, these people are like starting companies, and you know, they say 1 million US revenue for that year, and you're like, what? They're
even before they graduated.
Year 1 or 2.
Crazy.
So for me, it's like, I'm not ready to do that, but I'm inspired by all these people around me. And I have a close friend. His name is Connor, and he was a year older than I am. And he said, I don't know web design, web development, but let's get clients. So they would pay us so that I would go and learn that skills. that is the kind of entrepreneurship mindset that I get equipped with as I went to the school.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I actually like that thinking, right? It reminds me of this time where, as part of my little adventures into exploring side hustling and everything, at one point I told myself, oh, I'm actually quite interested in design. Like I like to see nice things and I like to create nice things, but I have no idea how to work like Photoshop or Illustrator. And this was a time before Canva, right? And I tried to learn on my own. I watched YouTube videos, try to enroll in those online courses that teach you how to do like 0 to 100 in Illustrator in like 30 days kind of thing. Like, oh, right. I couldn't, because there was no motivation at the end.
Yeah.
But when you turn it around, you turn it into a game of sorts, and then now you have people who will pay you to do it. Like, oh, suddenly I don't know, I would sleep at 3 a.m. every night just trying to learn how to use the pen tool. Like the whole experience is just different when you have I would say like skin in the game.
Yeah.
Someone's paying
or some pressure.
Some kind of pressure. Yeah. So that's like an interesting take on learning that that came to mind when you're sharing about this.
And kind of reflecting back, I feel like this mindset is important in business because most of us, we're always trying to build and then market it. But doing this way my friend did it, you sell before you
pre-sell,
you build. So you will not make money because the money is already there, and then you figure out how to execute. I think marketing before product, I think so important.
Yeah. This reminds me of that. I can't remember where I saw this quote from, but it was like first-time founders, they focus all on product. Right, they build an amazing product. But second-time founders, to them the most important thing is not the product, it's like distribution. Right? How do you get the word out there so that people know you? Then they would, once they show their interest, and better still if they vote for your product with their money, then oh, this is where this idea will work, and then you build a product in a more meaningful way.
Yeah. You know, that is kind of my philosophy around building in public.
Okay.
We're getting into building in public because I think did I meet you at my course? Maybe before then we already know each other, but then you joined Building in Public Mastery. And then of course we got really close. Sharing and bouncing ideas.
Followed you for a while, kind of like stalking you in the distance.
So actually I feel like my philosophy of building in public is you have this way of testing demand before you even launch the product. Because as you share, when you build, you can kind of get the signals like, are people interested in this? If people are not even replying to your social content, then
what's the point?
Something is wrong. Like when you launch, people would not buy it. So then it's a great way to build up momentum, but also the right product for people. And you have been a student in my course. I'm interested to know, how do you think about this before you joined the program?
So maybe a little, just to share a little bit more context. So right now, I'm a productivity coach, right? But when I first started my whole coaching journey, it was more like, I was trained as a life coach, and it was very difficult to sort of get clients or get leads, or at least put myself out there, right? Because I'm not really sure how to position myself. I'm not really sure what exactly to offer, right? So I would go into this rabbit holes thinking, okay, I'm gonna be X coach, like a fill in the blank kind of thing.
Oh, I thought you mean X, like Twitter X.
No, Twitter X. Just like
no, don't like Twitter.
There are tons of people out there already. So I would have these interesting ideas, and I would spend so much time behind the scenes, trying to put together like material, and then once it's ready, I would ship it out. I would tell my friends about it. I'll write LinkedIn posts about it, but then I'll get crickets, and that felt really demoralizing because I spent so much time building this, and no one wanted am I doing something right? Am I missing something? All this effort comes to nothing. So it's really tough. And really like, it's not that like, I don't think like the product or the idea is bad. Like I talk to friends about it and they're like, yeah, it's a good idea. They should do it this way. But why are the results not showing that, right? It was later on, like after like going through your material, going through your course, and everything. Oh, it's because like I think it's great stuff that I'm putting out there, but just people do not know about it. And maybe the idea is good, but I just need a different angle to it. And I would not have been able to find these angles if I'm just all to myself.
Yeah.
Right? I need to like put things out there and let like my potential audience and the ideal customers like make that call, like give me those data points so that I can tweak. So in a way, like we are always throwing spaghetti at the wall, right? And just seeing what sticks. That's the old way I would used to do it. Now I'm still throwing spaghetti at the wall, but I'm very intentional about what type of spaghetti I'm throwing.
Oh, I thought you were gonna say you're throwing kaya toast to the wall.
No, that would go into my stomach. Yeah. But really, yeah. So it's finding out that very specific thing to put out there, and then so you know that when you're collecting the data points through like the public opinion, through those engagement, whatever way that you are building public for, right? That's where you know that okay, this works, this doesn't work. That works to some extent. Can I, instead of throwing like penny fusilli on the wall, let's like
more things on the wall.
Other like let's try maybe penny but with like a tomato sauce, and then just see like oh, if tomato sauce doesn't work, maybe I change the sauce. It becomes a little more intentional in that discovery process, and that helps with the whole like building process as well.
I'm very curious because you call yourself a coach.
Yeah.
And I feel like the biggest fear that people have when they try to build in public, like they like the concept, but it comes to execution. I feel like the coaches, they really have a hard time to do it. I mean, we're all trying to teach people something or help people with something. So a lot of us will feel like, oh, we need to be a bit more the expert. We need to be standing on the stage. Because if we do it peer-to-peer, it feels like we lose the credibility and people wouldn't trust us. And I think I've heard so many people say, do I really want to show my vulnerability? Do I really want to show my weaknesses? But I feel like people are getting the wrong point. It's not about saying, I'm insecure, I don't know this stuff, but more so, it's just open for feedback, invite people to co-create. How do you feel as a coach? How hard is it to put down those ego and invite people to co-create your program with you? How hard is it?
Super, super difficult, right? There are a lot of like mental things that get in the way. There's like, you know, your ego, and then there's also like you know, you don't want to look stupid in public. You don't want to look like you have no idea what you're doing, but you still have to show credibility. There's a lot of things going on. Like I like to just call them on like limiting beliefs, right? And that gets in the way. And especially as a new coach, like anyone who maybe just finished the training, you know, they hit their 100 hours and then they get accreditation, things like that, right? It's tough. There's a very, very strong sense of imposter syndrome, right? Like when I first started out, I got my credit. I've been coaching for about 2.5 years now, right? When I first finished my training and I'm putting myself out there for the first time, say I'm a coach. At the back of my mind, I'm like, what the hell are you doing, right? Because like I'm only like, you know, just in my early 30s, like I barely lived through life, and who am I to tell someone else like how they should live their life? Like who am I to do that? Right? So that really that was a huge limiting factor for me. It really took me a while to get over it, and the way what helped me get over that was just really like appreciating and understanding that no one's perfect. Everyone has their own troubles in their own little flavor, and what really helps people connect is relatability, right? Sure, we've all been inspired by people who are like way more successful than us, and we all want to be like them. Every investor wants to be like a Warren Buffett, right? Who doesn't want to? right? But when you're first starting out, when you're making your first few trades, you're like scared shitless because like there's like I don't know, like every trade feels so hard. Same thing when you go through life, it's just like a lot of challenges, and it's helpful when you have someone who's just a couple of steps ahead of you, um, um, who you can tell that is on the same journey towards the same destination, but he is like gone through the experience that you're going through recently, and that feels more true, that feels more relatable. An example of how this plays out, for example, let's say I'm in Hong Kong now, right? I am searching for places to eat. I'll go into Google Maps, I'll go into Google reviews, and everyone goes and just checks at the reviews, right? But what I'll do is that I would filter, I would sort the reviews by recency. So I would trust the reviews that are like maybe just a few days old or a few months old, rather compared to like reviews that are a few years old. Because that means that the recency tells me that the circumstances are almost identical,
Right.
and that's more relatable to me, right? So that helps me make a decision. Same thing, like in the whole like coaching space, I feel we as coaches, we don't have to be subject matter experts, right? But I think it's very important for us to show a little bit of vulnerability, a little bit of something that makes us feel more human,
Yeah.
right? So that our coaches can like relate to us better and they would trust us better. And then trust is then, when you can build that trust, the conversations flow a lot better, and it allows you to support the person better. Yeah.
I can so agree to that because coaching is not my focus, but then I do offer coaching just because some people need it. Some people need that constant check-in kind of discussion. And I remember one of my coachee, is it coachee?
I call it coachee.
Coachee.
Yeah.
He actually told me coaching is actually 80% emotional coaching and only 20% really about the business skills or whatever skills that you're coaching people on. So that makes me think that when you say relatability, it's because 80% of the time you're just gonna open up and be a buddy and chat about things. So that kind of emotional connection is so important.
Yeah. I think that's also how I explain coaching to first-time clients as well, right? Like most people who are unfamiliar with coaching, they would associate it with like mentoring, like asking for advice from a mentor.
Yeah,
a coaching is very different, right? In my opinion, like when you are asking for advice, like you're just getting an answer, you're solving the problem, or you're getting ideas on how to solve a problem. But the coaching space is a bit more meta than that, where yes, we are helping you with the problem, but we're not directly acting on the problem you're facing. We are helping you solve the problem with your problem. So like let's say if you struggle to get things done in a day, right? The immediate solution is probably like make a list, make a to-do list, time block your time, things like that. But we all know this. Why are we not doing that? So the coaching does help, like, okay, what is stopping you from actually making that list? What is stopping you from prioritizing your day, kind of thing? That's how the coaching works.
Terry, so bringing it back, I'm curious.
Yeah.
What convinced you to give me and my program, Building Public Mastery, a shot? Because there's so many programs out there.
Yeah. There's really a lot of like coach, personal branding coaches and gurus and all that stuff out there. I tried a lot of them, like when I first started out on this Twitter journey, right? And I shared with you like earlier before that there were all these very platitude-y way of showing up online. Maybe it worked before, but it wasn't something that really resonated with my values, right? Call it imposter syndrome, whatever, I don't care. But like I don't feel good like telling you like 5 things you should do to go from 0 to 100K for something. Like, yeah, okay, sure.
Wait, what would be your values be like?
So I value something that's I want to be very authentic and genuine with like my audience, because ultimately it's all about cultivating like relationships, right? everyone that we engage with, like it's a real human being out there, and the last thing I want to do is to see them as just numbers. Right? I really don't want to do that, and I think that's one of the reasons why like coaching was very really stuck to me very well, because I'm not just helping you with like overcome a problem, but I'm also building this relationship with you, that would really help you in the long run, right? So I like that connection. So going through following all those advice online, learning how to build to grow a following is great, but I didn't really feel good. In fact, I almost burnt out at one point. Then I chanced upon, like somehow like the algo was feeding me your post or something.
The universe knows.
Yeah, the universe knows, and it's sending me a signal, right? I'm like, oh, okay, what is Kevon Chong writing about? Oh, actually the post like makes sense to me. Like I could relate to it, right? And me being me, I somehow went into the rabbit hole of like your content, and then I chanced upon your building public mastery guide, right? That you've written like a couple of years ago, 1.5 years ago.
Wow, almost 3 years
Almost
ago.
3 years
That
ago.
was my first project.
Right.
Yeah.
And I'm glad you wrote that project, because that allowed me to like I spent one whole evening. I just ended work. It was a long day at work. I came home feeling really dejected, because like, okay, I have to do this Twitter thing again, but like things are not working out. I was like, like I was on the verge of giving up, right? I read your content, something resonated, something clicked in me, and I spent the next 2.5 hours just reading the entire guide, writing notes on the side. I'm like, this guy is onto something, right? And I could feel like as I'm reading your guide, like I would feel like, yeah, I can do this, right? And I can feel good writing it, writing things like this, right? I'm not gonna throw out those platitudes, all those wisdom bombs as you call it, right? I'm actually sharing something that I'm really feeling inside, and it would also be something that I guess like my ideal audience, my ideal customer would feel also. So that's how that's how I could feel like I could show up authentically online, in a very genuine way, and followers, beyond just followers, like if I could build a relationship with them, or anyone who engages with me, that'd be great. So that renewed my confidence, renewed my motivation. I'm like, okay, you know what? I'm gonna give this a shot, right? And I think it was at that time where you announced that you're gonna have another cohort or something, right? I'm like, I'm gonna give Kevon a shot. I'm gonna like let's see. Like I've read the content. It makes sense to me. Let's take it up to the next level. And I signed up, and it was one of the best decisions I made like this year, like in my creator journey. Like, okay, this is how I need to show up. It's been working pretty well for me so far, and I'm like, right now it is almost like my go-to model. Every time when I want to like, I have a like weekly, like I write my content in advance. I'm collecting ideas, right? Every time I sit down and think about how am I going to show up for my audience. This is like your method in a way. It's ingrained into my process.
Nice. Do you feel like, because I personally feel like once I learned my own method, I didn't create this method, right? But I pick it up somewhere, but I definitely inject my own flavor to it. Do you feel like every time you build something, you no longer just want to build, but you want to first talk about it somehow, like in big or small ways? I feel like that's that's what ingrained it in you.
Absolutely. So like in the past, before I learned about your method, like I'm new to this whole, like I didn't study business, I didn't study marketing, so all of these were very new. I didn't know how to do things as well as like trained marketers do. So when I was going through the process, I would have 1,001 questions. Oh, how do people do this? How do people do that? Right? Would my audience like this or my audience like that? Even simple things as like, designing like my Twitter header banner. Right? Like, would this phrasing make sense, or would that phrasing make sense? I would take on those challenges, I'll take on those questions alone. But then going through your material, your course, I realized that I don't have to do this alone. there are all these amazing people out there, you know, who are very smart people, very amazing people, right? And I always like to believe that, you know, I'm not the smartest person in the room. There are people out there who could, you know, give me that point of view. And so building in public helped unlock that new way of working. And true enough, like I remember one of my first few like build in public posts, like I got like a lot of like great comments on it. Some of them were interesting because I would never have thought about those processes myself, right? And that really helped me like, oh, okay, I can build it this way as well. And it made the whole building process also much more enjoyable for me. Because I no longer feel like I'm this like small creator in like Singapore where no one even knows where to point on the map, you know. I actually have this whole online community that is more than willing to help out. Even if it's just like 2 lines of like an advice or opinion, it helps a lot.
Yeah.
And that was really helpful in my own journey.
Yeah. I think, you know, my favorite part about this is it takes someone maybe 30 seconds, maybe, okay, 60 seconds of their time. But what they say is so helpful to you.
Yeah.
It feels like your brain just expands
Clicks.
because 10 other brains are giving you
Exactly. Yeah.
information. And it takes them no time, almost no time.
Yeah.
Right. Of course, if you ask for feedback
Yeah.
on something, that's more
A
time.
little
But,
bit more.
but usually we talk about like keeping it quick and easy, so it's like half a minute.
Yeah.
All right. One more thing I want to ask.
Sure.
Like,
Yeah.
okay, you have first-hand experience with building public mastery.
Yes.
I don't know, but so I need to tap into your brain. Okay,
Okay.
building in public in front of a camera. What's the biggest difference between what I am doing in this community versus what you see out there?
So I think the biggest difference that I've come across in like what you put out there, yes, others have seen before, is that the actionable things that you shared and like sort of teach us to do, it's very real. I think it taps into our genuine, like how we show up as a person. What I really like is that I think it really emphasizes the point that people buy from people. People don't buy from like faceless brands.
They do buy, but they're not super fans.
Yeah, they're not super fans.
Like
yeah, they're not super fans. Like yeah. So really, authenticity is a big thing for me, right? And I feel really good using your method, your process, to build something on my own, right? And make a lot of friends in the process. Like it really just make the whole journey a lot more bearable, a lot more enjoyable. And look, if not for that, like going through what you taught me, we wouldn't be having this conversation today.
That's true.
Right?
Yeah.
Like I feel like every time I visit another country, and if I know a creator in that country, we can connect. And it's just internet serendipity in action. And I really enjoy the process. So it's not like platitude stuff. It's real. Just do this. It's very simple. It's not like some kind of a complex psychological human behavior kind of thing. No, it's none of that. It's something that's very real. Just do this. Be very authentic and build connections. When you build a connection, you focus on the relationships. Business will come.
Yeah. Okay, so Terry, you just talk about like showing up as yourself.
Yep.
And I know right now you are sharing a lot of good golden nuggets in the routine space.
Yep.
So I'm interested because when we talk about habits and routines, I immediately think about James Clear.
James Clear, yeah.
Yeah. So how's your method different from what I learned from Atomic Habits?
So I'm a big fan of James Clear's work. Like his book was one of the it really changed the way I approach getting things done in my life.
Same here. Yeah.
Right? It's so crazy. And what I did with that is I sort of incorporated it into the way I do things. And I realized that as I turned into my own little flavor, his atomic habits framework is that that there are 4 steps of habit change, right? And it just talks about action step, right? About the habit, about the action that helps you get something done, right? Like how do you pick up a reading habit, that's just action step. But when I did it on my own, I realized that there's actually a lot of steps before that has to happen in order for the action to happen in the first place, right? And then there's also something that happens after to make sure that help you keep it going. Yeah. So the habit itself is just one part of a broader process, which I'm calling it a routine, right? Or like a system. Maybe things like these words are interchangeable online, and the system have to different steps of the system to click into place before it can be run. Yeah. So I like to every day I run, like when I live my days as though I am like activating different programs in my life, right? So like in the morning, like when I wake up for the day, I just run a system that will just move my body into it, right? And I design my environment in a way that makes it easy for me to do that.
As you're talking about this, I'm imagining Iron Man,
just running this AI.
So many systems.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it sounds intense, but really, like, it's not. Like,
okay.
It just starts from the really simple things, like, like in the morning, I would, like, I go to work, the first thing I do is to grab a cup of coffee.
Yeah.
Right? Everyone does this. And what can you do? Like, since it's something that is recurring in your life, can you use it as a trigger to initiate another action? Right? So one of the things I've been doing myself is, like, let's say I do have a reading habit. It used to be like I'll wake up earlier in the day and then I'll spend an hour just reading. It can be a book, or it can be articles, or it can be like newsletters that I've subscribed to, things like this. Because reading is a very important aspect to me. Reading is like a system upgrade for your brain, right?
Totally. Yeah.
Yeah. But then, like, over the course of a couple of years, like, things like my life got a little bit more busy, right? And it became a little bit more and more difficult to find the time to read. So one of the things I kept asking myself is, like, how can I continue to have this habit, right? In a way, I've incorporated part of my identity is I am a reader. I read because I want to be smarter, right? And when I don't read, I feel dumb. Like, that's like how my brain works. Like, it like flips into the extremes. Yeah, so it's important for me to find time to read in my life. And I found that, there are all these little pockets of time where I could just read stuff. Otherwise, that time would just be like wasted. You would scroll on social media, or you would like sometimes play games. Once in a while it's fine, but like there's better ways to use those time. So my approach went from how can I find more time to do X. It became like, how can I find hidden pockets of time, idling time, to still do X. And it doesn't it takes zero extra effort for me to do it. Yeah. So right now I have this thing going on where, like, I have a whole list of, I did an audit of my day, like how do I spend my time, and I pay special attention to where are those times where I'm just wasting time, where do I feel like wasting time.
So where do you waste most of your time?
Oh my gosh, like my wife will attest to this. Like, so I don't know this is safe to share, but like, let's just say, like, I take my time when I'm taking a dump.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I feel like all guys do
All
that.
guys do that, right?
Especially the husband or dad.
Yeah. It's like, this is like it's like me time in a way.
Peace of mind.
Peace. Yeah, really, like, this is your little sanctuary on your golden throne. Like, yeah. But yeah, so usually it's like you spend a lot of time there. There's nothing much else you can do while you're there. And that's a lot of time spent, especially if you do it every day.
Multiple times a day.
Yeah, multiple. Like, it's healthy, right? Yeah. So I started to realize, like, hey, why don't I just read something? Simple things like that. Like, it's accessible. Everyone has a smartphone, or like, you can put a book in the washroom, whatever. Read something. And I realized that, like, when you put together in a week, that's like many hours of like. So you don't just like, you're really reading a lot of stuff. Like for me, like that's like, oh, I'm really getting a lot of extra nuggets. I'm reading a lot, and not just that. As a creator, as I'm building this new coaching practice, reading all this stuff helps to give me more ideas about like what to write about, or it updates my processes. How can I run certain things better, or many things like life hacks. But as long as I'm reading something, I'm absorbing knowledge, and I can use the information elsewhere, right? Without discovering these pockets of time, right, I would not read, and then like life will just be status quo.
So I feel like it goes from unintentional to intentional spend of time.
Yes.
But let's say taking a dump, that's like 15 minutes, maybe max, hopefully. And when you say reading about your space, that means you need to set things up so that you can easily access that process, right? Yeah. Otherwise, you would spend like half the time setting that up. So how do you set that up so that when you sit down, you're like, okay, let's start.
Yeah. Okay. So I mean, definitely like, so you're talking about the setup.
Yeah, I feel like that's important.
Yeah, the setup is very important. So I think I like to think about it like you start with the end goal in mind, right? Like my end goal was like, okay, I want to still be able to read like at least like 7 hours a week, for example, right? Where can I find that 7 hours, right? And so I have the end goal in mind. I have that desired outcome. Now I need to find what are the like recurring triggers, like things that are reliable, like you know that it will happen. So definitely like going on coffee runs is something that will definitely happen. Taking a dump, that's like something that will definitely happen. So you have the start, and then you have the end, right? The hard part is figuring out how to get from A to B, right? So that's where like it takes a bit of like intentional design. You have to trial and error a little bit, right? And my philosophy for that is that like try to make things as simple and as no-brainer as you can to do the activity. And the activity in this case is reading, right? And technology helps with that, right? You can install Kindle on your phone, or you can just get a Kindle itself. You want to place things strategically such that when you see it, you do it. The idea is to really remove as much friction as you can, so that you feel silly not doing it. Yeah. So it does take a bit of time to come up like design these things. I like to do it like I like to block a specific time like on my weekends. If I want to do something new, this is what I will think about, right? Okay, I have the desired outcome, I have where I start, what are the little steps that I can put to make it easier. So it takes a while to try. You have to like try it out for a week, right? And then you have to be very intentional, like, oh, did this work out? Like, do I feel resistance? No resistance, good. If yes, how can I make it simpler? Yeah. And really like it's just that 2-minute rule, right? Like make it so simple you feel silly doing it. Yeah, I catch myself like, oh, why am I not doing it? It's so ridiculous. I'll just do it. And then the benefits.
And I feel like to make it simple, you have to connect one trigger to one action only.
Yes.
For example, I'm just thinking this out loud. Like when you take a dump, maybe it's to read newsletter. So you just open the folder and start reading.
Yeah.
If you are commuting back home, I usually would reply emails because I don't know.
Yes.
That's the associated action. Yeah. Do you agree with that? Like
yes,
one action.
100%. Like you always want to have like a one-to-one relationship. And the reason for that is that you want to reduce the number of decisions you make in a day. Right? I read somewhere, I can't remember where, but like an average adult makes like 300,000 decisions a day or something. I might have added extra zero, I can't remember. But you make a ton of decisions every day. simple things like choosing what to wear.
Oh, don't ask me. I
Right?
wear this all the time.
There we go.
You only see me in black t-shirt.
Yeah, like, and I think that's great. I have a similar concept. I think it's a capsule wardrobe concept.
I just don't want to think what to
Yeah,
wear.
yeah, same. Like my wardrobe is like just t-shirts in like 3 different colors, and every day I'll just like pick and let's go. Yeah, so like decisions like this, we want to reduce the number of decisions we make every day because it is extremely exhausting. The more decisions you make, the more friction there is, and the more friction there is, the more likely you are to procrastinate. Yeah. So one-to-one relationship, it's a easy cause and effect. If this then that, if this then that. It's kind of like an Excel formula kind of thing. Yeah. And that's how my routines are set up. Like if I go for a coffee, I'll read one newsletter. Right? If I'm on my way home from work, then I would reply to comments. Things like this. So I have a whole list of little I call it micro routines, micro tasks like this that I'm aware of. And every time I'm in that situation, it just like a program just auto run. So I don't make a lot of decisions every day because all these decisions are already pre-made.
Yeah.
Before. Right? And when you stick to those decisions, you are insulating yourself from emotions, or like when people say, "Oh, life happens." Life happens because you didn't prepare for that decision. Yeah.
That's hard, but I like it.
Yeah.
Because I think about it the same way.
Yeah.
Terry, I remember we chatted before, and you always bring up life design. So I'm curious, like your work around routine and habits, how does that connect to how you think about life?
So I think it goes back to then how do you want to live your ideal life? What does that look like? It's not an easy question to answer. It's a pretty loaded question if you think about it, right? But I believe that at any one point in time, you have some idea like how do you want to spend your day? At the very least, how do you want to spend your next 4 hours?
What does your ideal life look like?
Wow,
Like,
yeah.
or just give me a few elements. Like if you're not working at Google, what does that look like?
Yeah,
I just want to get into your brain about that.
Sure. They're just I think 4 main areas of my life that I want to optimize for. Right, it's essentially like health, wealth, relationships, and personal happiness. Right,
Wow,
health.
You really thought about this.
Yeah.
Okay.
Health, wealth, relationships, and personal satisfaction. So my ideal day, my ideal life should have, I call it programs that will contribute to these 4 elements in various ratios. Like it doesn't have to be an everyday thing, but if I look at it like in a year, I should be able to do things that contribute to these 4 areas of my life. So ideally, like health, I want to be able to have time to work out. That's important. I want to live a long and happy life. I always tell my wife this cheesy material, super cheesy material, but I say my only wish is that I can live 1 more day longer than you. Right? Super cheesy, right? And my wife is pretty healthy, so I need to be very healthy as well. So I love that 1 more day longer than her. Right? So working out, eating healthy, living healthy, I want to have time to go and do that. Right? Wealth, obviously, making money, running a business, and not just that, right? Like also wealth experiences, right? All these contribute to the wealth element. So I want to be able to one of my long term aims is actually become like a VC. Ooh. Or like an angel investor, right? Where I have so much money, and then but I also have so much ideas that I want to work with people who can make that turn that dream into a reality. Yeah. So that's the wealth element for me. And relationships, obviously being able to connect with loved ones, family, friendships like this, more of this in my life. and personal satisfaction, like what would actually make me feel like when I'm 80 years old and I look back, what can I say I'm proud of? Yeah.
I actually started to connect the dots about your method, about how do you say that? You pick out times,
Pockets of
hidden time. Oh,
Yeah.
this is a really nice name.
Yeah. Thank you.
That is your name of the niche.
My framework or something like
Pockets of hidden time. Okay. I find that at first when you talk about like reading newsletter and all that, I thought it's just about knowledge. But then now you talk about health, and I start to relate because I'm a dad of 2 daughters, young daughters, and honestly, I don't exercise enough lately.
Okay.
So I think a couple months ago, I started thinking, oh, I need to go home anyway, and I don't live too far away. Why don't I walk and
home.
Yeah, or there's a little hike. Why don't I walk and hike home? Because the time to take public transport to go home is exactly the same.
Okay.
So I find that hidden pocket of time and fill it in with exercise. Well, not currently because I carry my daughter too much. I hurt my feet, so I cannot do that.
Yeah.
But I can see how the 4 areas can fit in pockets of hidden time.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. And I think that's where like the design part of life design comes in, because you can make these little tweaks if you're aware of it. You can make these little tweaks, and honestly, these little tweaks, they are not like high friction. It's very easy to do.
Yeah.
Like one thing, like I have this, I don't know what's the actual name for it, but it's like a stepper thing, right? And I have a standing desk.
Oh.
Right. So when I am when I have like every Saturday morning, I have a time block out just to like read stuff, right? But usually when you think about reading, like what's the image that comes to your mind?
Sitting on the couch,
coffee, or maybe wine or whatever, and like reading
or
a book,
on the
right?
bench in the park.
Yeah. Now, that is great. It's nice, but just to me, it's also like sedentary. Now, what if like you could walk and read at the same time?
I feel like we're doing this chat wrong. We should be walking and
That's another thing. Like
we're
walking
sitting.
meetings. Yeah.
Okay.
Things like this,
Yeah.
right? So I'm not only like reading, but I'm also exercising,
Yeah.
right? And if you think about it, reading is 1 hour. If you go on a run or walk, it's another 1 hour. That's 2 hours. Now you get to do both in 1 hour. So you free yourself of 1 hour to spend more time with your daughters.
What do you think about people who say, there are some people who are exercising, listening to music, and replying to emails all at the same time.
Okay.
And there are people saying, why don't you just relax and do one thing at a time? So I'm actually okay with this, but do you feel like there's a maximum that you don't want to cross?
Yeah. I think I get this a lot, right? Like, why don't you just chill? Like, why are you always so always on at all time, right?
Yeah.
Fair. Like, but I think like people's definition of like on and off is very different. Like for me, when I am when I go on like runs. So I'm training for a marathon at the end of the year, right?
Like a full marathon.
A half marathon.
Okay.
Yeah, it's my first marathon. Like
Wow.
my wife talked me into it. I didn't want to do it, but like I love her, so like okay, let's just do it together.
Nice.
Right? Okay. So so we have to train for a marathon, and I hate running. It's so boring, right? So I try to entertain myself. I listen to podcasts, and I don't just like listen to it. Like, so I use this app called Snip, where when I listen to something like a part of the podcast that is it like makes sense, I want to save it. It's just like there's one tap to like it saves that snippet.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Cool app. Yeah.
What's the app called?
Snip. It's SNIPD, I believe.
Okay.
Yeah. Cool stuff, right? So it's just like I'm just running and I'm holding my phone. I hear something and I just snip it. So that is like, I can just be focused on running, right? But since I'm already running, I'm already listening to something. It doesn't take any extra effort. and it's just an extra effort to a little bit more just to just tap the button. I'm still relaxed, like, and that is comfortable for me. So I'm happy to do that. But if that is too much for you, then you adjust, right? Like, the thing about routines is that everyone has a different threshold of like comfort. There's a different threshold of intensity, and you have to. That's why I mentioned earlier, right? You have to do a bit of trial and error to figure out where is that sweet spot. You will not get your routines right the first time around, never, right? If you do, it's kind of like hitting a hole in one on a golf course, right? You always have to adjust and iterate until you find that sweet spot where you're comfortable, you're happy, and then that will be your. That's how you can. That is your happy spot in terms of using your hidden pocket of time.
I think from this conversation, and previously I had a guest, Brian. We did a in-person episode. I discovered so much joy just talking to people in person as opposed to like using a virtual tool.
Yeah. In real life, conversations just hit different.
Yeah. So thank you so much for joining me in my mini office here.
Yeah, thanks for having me here as well.
Yeah.
It's so great to meet you in person.
Yeah, I have to do this. Usually we cannot do a virtual high five,
Yeah.
but now we can do it.
Yeah, we can do it.
Better not miss.
It's like, you know, like Barney Stinson, I don't know if you watched How I Met Your Mother.
Yeah, I'm a big fan.
I request the highest fives of all.
All right, second high five.
Good stuff. Yeah.
All right, yeah, we have so much more to chat, but for now, see you.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone.
See ya. Bye.